live over here in the UK, and I presume some areas of Europe too, you will know that for a good chunk of your WWE life, the company was shacked up with Sky Sports. I mean, that only ended recently, and it was kind of like the ending of a lovely relationship. Throughout the years, though, there were plenty of controversial moments where Sky went, no way, Vince McMahon, we are not airing that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Simon from What Culture. Thank you very much for joining me, and this is 10 segments that Sky UK just cut out of WWE broadcasts. Number 10, Lana is silenced. 6 years ago, on June 2014, Sky decided they didn't like what Lana had to say, so they silenced her. This was during the time where she stood by her husband's side, Rusev, and told us she was a ravishing Russian, before one day that all just magically disappeared and she became American. Hands up if you know why, hands go down. And of course, what she would do during these grand entrances is not only say how great Ruru was, but also say the land of Russia, that where they were from was the best place on the planet, and that Americans suck, and that really, we should all go that direction and try and become citizens, although we wouldn't be allowed because, again, we're pieces of trash. So it was the most 80s wrestling thing ever, but if you were watching it over here in the UK, you didn't see this. You just saw Rusev's entrance and Lana was by his side, then it cut to the ring and Rusev destroyed Xavier Woods, which often used to happen to Xavier before he got in the New Day. No one has actually come out and said why this happened, but you've got to believe it's because of the relationship between Russia and the United Kingdom in 2014, which was bad to say the least. There was a lot of political fallout between both countries, and you can imagine Sky just went, look, this is a bunch of fake words, we don't need to get embroiled in this. They probably made the right move. Number 9, Khazzani. Khazzani was so weird. He popped up on SmackDown in 2009, and then a few weeks later, he had left the company entirely. He also had a bunch of videos when he talked in Carney language, which makes sense for wrestling, but this one still makes me scratch my head. The segment that got cut over here in the UK did come in the form of one of these videos, and in that, not only did you see like a man swallowing a sword, but somebody else was breathing fire, and Khazzani himself, being the Fruit Loop that he was just playing with a mousetrap. This apparently broke the broadcaster's rules though, so therefore it had to go, and I can get that, I can see why. I guess you don't want a kid going into the kitchen and getting like a kitchen knife and trying to ram it down their throat. It's not going to go very well. Don't do that. Khazzani does now run his own promotion called Freak Show Wrestling. I am just the messenger, so make of that what you will. Number 8, Michael Cole and the Queen. Do you remember when Michael Cole was playing the bad guy and then got knighted by a fake queen on Raw? No? Good, keep it that way. It all started before the Extreme Rules pay-per-view when Michael Cole's tag team partner Jack Swagger was like reading from a scripture and saying that it was time to knight Cole and therefore the Queen of England had to come to the ring. Then obviously a fake queen did come out. She was like dressed in cosplay, and she did indeed, for some reason that I will never understand, knight Michael Cole. He was turned into Sir Mike then, and as the Queen tried to speak, she got booed out the building because no wrestling fan wanted to see this. And then it got even more bad, or more worse, because when Michael Cole got back to his feet, he decided to kiss the Queen. Don't do it. He then just fell through the ground as Jack Swagger was trying to get Jim Ross, who was feuding with Michael Cole, to kiss Cole's disgusting feet, and Jerry Lawler was getting his ass kicked. All of this was so terrible. And while this did air live at the time, Sky decided to remove it from any secondary broadcast. Why? Well, I'm gonna guess it didn't really, put Her Majesty in the greatest lights, and this was mere weeks away from when she was gonna have her Diamond Jubilee. I suppose Sky could see the complaints and they thought, to hell with it. Either way, it was the right decision because the entertainment value in this was zero. Number 7, Edge the Tormentor. Back in August 2008, as Edge was trying to mentally prepare himself for the fact he was going to face The Undertaker at SummerSlam 2008 in a Hell in a Cell, he decided he had to yell at Vicky Guerrero, who was in a wheelchair, and he even shoved her a little bit. Sky decided, not on our watch. This was all going down after he had brutalized Chavo Guerrero with a concerto, and as soon as he had done that, he did indeed turn to his wife, and not only did he yell at her, but he tipped her out of the wheelchair. This was the rated R superstar at his absolute slimiest. Edge then got right in her face as she cowered away in fear and said, look, you shouldn't be scared of The Undertaker, you should be scared of me. He then blamed her for making him do all of this because he had to in order to be ready to face the Phenom. Sheesh. This then ramped up further when Edge whispered into Guerrero's ear that he was going to take her to hell too, and unsurprisingly, a man running rampant on a woman made Sky go, I don't want to put that on TV. And I tell you what this proves, proves why Sky prefer dealing with the Premier League. Number 6, The Undertaker follows suit. Vicky Guerrero is back, that poor woman. But happening around about a month after SummerSlam in 2008, The Undertaker confronted Vicky Guerrero and Big Show in the ring, mostly because before this, Big Show had held The Undertaker in place, Vicky Guerrero had spacked him, and spat in his face. I mean, he was gonna be mad. It began with the Big Show saying that he had finally rid the WWE of The Undertaker, and then that was just bad timing because all of a sudden we heard bong and the lights went out and The Undertaker was backstage and he was decimating one Chavo Guerrero. Vicky was obviously worried about this and she told Big Show to go and sort this out, but they all forgot that the dead man has magic powers and he used these magic powers to appear in the ring, which meant now it was just him and one Vicky Guerrero. And not only did he grab Vic by the neck, but he actually gave her a tombstone pile driver. And if you go and watch this now, listen to the fans, they love every single second. At first this did air, but after a bunch of complaints, Sky just decided to delete it, and once again I can understand why. Also, Vicky Guerrero never got any revenge for this, so there's that. Number 5, R-Truth has a smoke. On Raw in 2011, John Morrison was so mad at his tag team partner R-Truth for smoking, he challenged him to a match. Now, Morrison did win, but afterwards, Truth was so annoyed, he attacked his best friend and then walked around ringside, you guessed it, having a smoke. He even blew some of this into Johnny Boy's face and he enjoyed this cigarette in the O2 Arena, which was a very big problem because over here in the UK, smoking got banned in venues such as this in 2007, so the fans began to chant, "That's illegal," and they were right. When Raw eventually did air, all this was gone for obvious reasons. What I do enjoy is that while smoking indoors is bad, turning your back on one of your friends and absolutely kicking their ass, well, that's perfectly fine. Number 4, Bray Wyatt returns, but he doesn't. In April 2019, Bray Wyatt did indeed return to Raw as the mysterious host of the Firefly Funhouse, and my word, this was genius and brilliant. Bray Wyatt knows what he's doing. While American audiences got to enjoy this in all its glory though, UK fans didn't, because instead of seeing the Firefly Funhouse, over here Sky just decided to show 4 minutes of their own logo. Now I understand advertising and marketing, but this was a little bit too much. As it turned out, Sky Sports had thought this was an advert, so didn't cut back to Raw and instead waited for it to finish. They then absolutely dug their own grave by 24 hours later tweeting out from their official account, "Hey man, what did you think about Bray Wyatt's return?" And you know how Twitter reacted to this. Every single one was, "Well, if you had shown it, numbnuts, I'd be able to tell you." The company would quickly apologize for this, which I guess is all they could do, but the big question is, what the hell did they think this was an advert for? Nightmares? I would guess so. Number 3, Trish Stratus and Vince McMahon. On the 5th of March 2001, WWE decided to do something that is among the worst in company history. I don't care what you say, I don't care what argument you have, we never should have done this, and it was bad then, and it's twice as bad now. The short version is that Vince McMahon made his employee Trish Stratus strip down to her underwear and bark like a dog, otherwise he would fire her. What the flub? It was in such bad taste, Sky rightfully made sure this never aired and never saw the light of day over here in the UK. But what the hell was WWE thinking? I mean, it's disgusting enough, but it's even worse because after this, of course, Trish Stratus went on to trailblaze the women's division and ended up in the Hall of Fame. You don't treat people this way. It was so offensive it even got brought up when Linda McMahon was running for office by her rivals. I don't blame them. I think I'd bring it up too. Number 2, Muhammad Hassan and the worst booking ever. The Muhammad Hassan character is one of the most controversial characters ever, but WWE even then still felt the need to just ramp it up to 11. It was ridiculous. It didn't actually start that badly because he was being portrayed as an Arab American that was being persecuted simply because of his name and simply because of how he looked. I mean, there is some real depth in there that WWE could have explored, but as soon as they realized it wasn't connecting with the audience in this way, they made him a caricature, they made him a parody, and all of this just hit a brick wall in July 2005. In a now infamous segment with The Undertaker, Hassan arrived in the ring with a bunch of dudes who were meant to look like terrorists. The word infidel and martyr were also used over and over again, and just to make you squirm in your seat like you've never squirmed before, like a wiggly worm, they started to choke the dead man with piano wire. None of this should even have been an idea to begin with, and while it was taped on the Tuesday, it wasn't set to air in the United States of America until the Friday, and it never should have aired because on that day you had the tragic London tube bombings, and thankfully Sky went, we're not putting that on our edition, but it did go out across the pond. It never should have done. This was so poorly received, Sky even approached WWE and said, yeah, that guy, he's gotta go. That did happen at the Great American Bash when the Undertaker basically threw him through the stage and killed him, and we've never even heard about him since. Number 1, Katie Vick. No big surprise, right? In October 2002, there must have been a bet backstage when WWE said, I wonder if we can get away with doing the worst storyline ever. And lo and behold, they did. Because after Kane had won a 4-way TLC tag team title match and actually retained those championships, out came Triple H saying that he knew a secret about the Big Red Machine, and did he remember the name? Katie Vick. The following week, Kane admitted to all of this and saying that he did used to date a girl called Katie Vick, and after foolishly getting behind the wheel as a drunk driver, he crashed, he survived, but he went on and killed this poor woman. He was meant to be a babyface. Triple H turned all of this into accusing him of being a murderer, and all this did is make you want to turn off your TV, and never was that truer than what happened 7 days later. Because a clip was shown of Triple H in a funeral parlor, not only pretending to be Kane, but also pretending he was at Katie Vick's funeral. They had a casket, they had a mannequin that was dressed up like this lady, and the game then proceeded to get in the casket and pretend he was humping a dead body. He even yelled out, I'm going to screw you now. Somebody hit me hard. Bruce Pritchard has said on his podcast that some of the people that filmed this were so disgusted they quit the company, and while TNN thought this was fine to air, Sky did not, and it never made its way to these shores. Unsurprisingly, necrophilia isn't high on the things they want to put out on their channel. I mean, why do I even have to say that out loud? I'm meant to be a wrestling fan, not into some creepy shib. This was 100% weird, creepy stuff. I spit on it. Know of any other segments that Sky Sports probably rightfully cut out from WWE programming during their relationship? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com where you can read articles like this with your eyes. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. Thank you very much for joining me as always. I regret having to go through most of those, especially damn Katie Vick. I'll see you soon.